From Riverside Health System, this is the Healthy You podcast, where we talk about a range of health-related topics focused on improving your physical and mental health. We chat with our providers, team members, patients, and caregivers to learn more about how to maintain a healthy lifestyle and improve overall physical and mental health. So let's dive in to learn more about becoming a healthier you. I have with me today in the Healthy You studio, Teresa Adams. And Teresa is a therapist with Riverside Mental Health and Recovery Center. Hi, Teresa.
Hello.
Glad to have you. We're going to be talking a little bit today about embracing the present, a journey through mindfulness. That's a lot. All right, mindfulness has emerged as a powerful tool to address mental health concerns, offering various benefits and approaches to improve psychological well-being. In this episode, we're diving into the practice of mindfulness, right? Mm-hmm. With you. I'm really excited about that. We will explore the power of mindfulness in the daily life, discussing practices and strategies for cultivating this in your everyday walk. So first, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in this specialty.
I have been a therapist for a very long time.
Okay.
And I think when I really started thinking about the answer to this question, it came down to hope.
Okay.
I believe that no one is trapped in their diagnosis or their experience, that a person who's depressed isn't condemned to a life of that. There's many changes we can do, that if we can change the thought process, if we can change how people think or perceive the world, or, look at the world, can they start to make changes in themselves to help themselves feel better and healthier and find their way forward. So it really it keeps coming back to hope that everyone has value. Everyone is an important person. Sometimes we just need a little bit of extra help finding that. Mm-hmm. And that's where therapy can be so helpful as a way to help people find the strengths in them. As a therapist, I would say that I embrace more of a strength-based approach. It's not about coming in and saying, let's fix what's wrong, but it's more about let's identify what's right, what's working, what you do well, and build those strengths up to become the best version of you.
Wow, that's powerful. Tell me a little bit about how you incorporate that at Riverside Mental Health and Recovery Center.
Okay, well, Riverside Mental Health and Recovery Center, big mouthful.
Yes.
We just recently changed our name, too, so if people are not familiar.
I finally got it right.
Yep. So, but we are an acute care hospital.
Okay.
I work primarily with the adults at this point in time. We have a children's unit, an adolescent unit as well. But incorporating this in is just kind of, like I said, bringing that whole attitude of hope, that the positives, what can we get right? Where can we build on this? When people come to us, they're usually at their most broken, most desperate moment. And doing things, the therapy, taking a positive approach, let's build some skills. Let's focus in on what you're already doing because you've made it this far.
Yes,
can, let's put the pieces back together and help you start on your path to recovery going down the road.
Let me ask you, is it incorporated into their treatment plan? Is it structured within the program?
The mindfulness?
The mindfulness.
Absolutely. I'm primarily a group therapist at this point in time. I do group work with them. And we've gone from doing mindfulness like 2 days a week to we do it now every day. There's a mindfulness activity included as part of their daily structure.
Okay. And what would that look like?
We do it midday.
Okay.
Because what we find is that it's kind of, you've had a busy morning. Doing it midday is a chance to rest, reset a little bit, get yourself back together till we start the afternoon therapy type interventions that we do with that. Okay. The way we do it is we typically use a lot of calming music.
Okay.
I use a lot of sensory items, things to touch. 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. There you go. We do a lot of aromatherapy, which we have found to be really incredibly powerful because they can use the aromatherapy while we're doing the actual group. But then it lasts through the day. We give them each a little wipe that has a smell on it. Okay. And it lasts throughout the day. And what they can use as their day progresses, they can use that sense, the aromatherapy, to bring themselves back to the calm they experienced at the mindfulness.
Okay. When I think about mindfulness, I've heard about it outside of mental health as well. Mm-hmm. Just being present in any situation so that you're not distracted. It's also something that can be used in high reliability organizations so you don't make an error. Talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about the benefits that you've seen from the use of mindfulness, specifically in the mental health
So,
population.
so yeah, if I were to give you the definition, I wrote it down.
Yes.
Mindfulness is the skill of focusing on your present experience, physically and emotionally, noticing what's happening with no judgment, no expectation. And what this does is, for anyone who's in kind of a high test stress situation, which if you think about it, is kind of everybody
Yes,
right now.
absolutely,
That
absolutely.
mindfulness is just a way to kind of, like you said, refocus, to bring it back to what am I experiencing. If I can find my calm, if I can settle my body, calm my heart rate, slow
So
my breathing,
breathing,
slow my
okay.
breathing, then I can clear my mind to allow new thoughts to come in.
Okay.
And so it's kind of an interesting thing to do. And we talk about it in mental health. In my context, we do. And certainly we know it's very effective with our patients. But we also know that there's a lot in the medical world. People are using mindfulness to lower blood pressure, to improve heart health, to pain management. Mindfulness can
Absolutely.
be a huge part of that if you're experiencing a difficult situation. I recently had some dental work
Yes,
done.
yes.
And they were like, they kept checking on me. Are you anxious? Are you anxious? And I realized I was just practicing my mindfulness. I was breathing very slowly. And while it was an uncomfortable thing to go
Right.
through, I didn't feel the physical distress that I would have if I
Yes.
hadn't been able to apply my mindfulness.
Funny you say that. I was just at the dentist,
Mm-hmm.
and while I'm not thinking it's mindfulness, it's mindfulness. And every time I go to the dentist and they check my blood pressure, I'm hypertensive.
Mm-hmm.
Because two things are going to happen. Either you're going to have an issue, and then any type of intervention just causes me angst. So they kept calling me Frankye. I took myself to another place, so I wouldn't focus on that at the time. So you're right. It is helpful
Yeah.
when you make a conscious effort
Mm-hmm.
to calm yourself down.
Yeah. And a lot of times when people hear the word mindfulness, they think that, sit in the lotus position, om
Yes.
type meditation.
Right.
And that's actually not what we're talking about at all. It's about bringing yourself fully into this moment. And like you said, doing the things that noticing which parts of your body need to relax.
Right.
Again, keeping that metaphor of the dentist chair.
Right.
The only part that they're really working on is your mouth. The
Right.
rest of your body, if you can calm that, it has the side effect of helping you get through it.
Absolutely.
And so we can apply this in a lot of things that we deal with so much stress in our lives now and it's all the little things. It's not always the big, losing your job, losing your house. We think of those as the things,
Right.
but really what wears us down faster than anything is the little things. The person cuts you off in traffic, your boss is fussing at you, your kid is on your last nerve. All those things can kind of build up on us. And this is where mindfulness can be really helpful as we start to feel our anxiety level rise as a way to bring it down quickly and effectively.
So give me an example. If I'm starting to rise a little bit, you would say take a few deep breaths, maybe?
Mm-hmm. And absolutely, as we when we practice the act of mindfulness, and people often they start that way. They're like, "Show me how to do it," and I'm like, "Take a couple deep breaths," and they go, and I'm like, "No, that's not." But it is. It's about holding your body still.
Okay.
About slowly just noticing your breath, not trying to force it in any other way. Just taking a breath in, a breath out. Notice as it's coming in that where it's going in your body. And you just keep breathing in and out. And then you start to notice in your body where are the spots that are feeling kind of tense now. And I can focus on that for a minute and calm that part of it. And as I calm my body, what I find is that through breathing, it brings in the healthy air, helps my heart, helps my lungs. And as my mind starts to clear, I get rid of the clutter and start to bring in the fresh ideas.
Wow, your voice is so soothing. I feel like I'm falling off to sleep right now.
But really, it doesn't. I often tell people, they're like, well, I just don't have time for this. There's so many. I've got 800 things on my list to do. I can't. I don't have time. And the answer to that is you're no good to anybody else if you're not good for yourself. And mindfulness you can do in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Enough to kind of get yourself recentered and set to go again.
Yes. And not get overwhelmed. Just take one thing and stay present in that one thing. because when you look at all the things you have to do, it can be extremely overwhelming.
Yeah. And building off that, I mean, the breathing, like I said, you took to that right away.
Yes.
But if you're somebody, they call it the squirrel brain, that just kind of keeps going off in all the directions when you're trying to focus on your breath.
Active brain.
And so this is where we bring in a sensory component. We use our 5 senses as a way, because the more senses that you engage simultaneously, the more able you are to focus on what you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. So say, for example, if somebody was having a hard time just finding their breath, I might say something like, just take your hands and press them together. Notice what it feels like when your 2 hands are touching each other, or how they feel. It stimulates your sense of touch. You become aware of that part of you. Some people, we've all seen the fidget spinners and things like that. Something to touch. Okay. We use a furry piece of cloth that's very soft. Okay. And then a lot of times listening to music, the type of music. It's not all just the meditation music. What works for you? In our groups, we use a lot of classical music, a lot of world type music. Right. And I always encourage people, as you're doing this, find what works for you and use that. Some people like to have just music where the mind can wander where it wants to go. Some people like to have an inspirational song with words in it, because that guides your thought. It takes you on a path down. Let me find the positive expectations. So choose what works for you in that process.
Sometimes rain, I've noticed that to go to sleep, there's certain sounds that they say help you relax more. So that's really great information. And great tips.
So find the one that works for you. Having something to touch. Like I said before, we use a lot of aromatherapy, which is the use of scent or smell. And we encourage people, if you're going to try that at home, a good thing to do, a lot of times people use scent in their house. And what happens is that when it's always there, you kind of go nose blind to it, that you cease to notice it. But if you're doing it as part of your mindfulness, what you'd want to do is deliberately, like, get a small diffuser. And as you sit down to do your mindfulness, use the scent now, calming scents like chamomile or lavender, or we use rosemary is another popular one we use. Just something that during the time you're doing the mindfulness and the relaxation to help take you away. And like I said, we use it throughout the day as a way to regain that calm. So again, it's finding the things that work for you.
Okay. Wow, that's very, very helpful. And some tips that we all can take away and use, because we're all dealing with, whether it's a fast-paced environment or list of things that need to be done, and how do you do that and keep yourself calm. So great information. Can you talk about other areas or specific disorders that you have seen the benefit of mindfulness?
So in the mental health world, that it turns out, the more I've researched this and gone into it, mindfulness can be an integral part of any treatment process. Certainly we hear a lot about it with depression and anxiety, that as a way to kind of manage that emotion, because there's a strong physical component to those emotions as well. But some of the research that's being done in using it, like even with things like schizophrenia or psychosis, as a means to help calm the voices, we're finding some a little more limited, but success with helping people who are at our most extreme mental health conditions. That what they describe to me when they experience is it's just nice for that 10 minutes to have everything settle down. I mean, we can't always stop the voices, but what we can do is calm them so that the person gets a little bit of a break, which has been marvelous.
I could imagine that in conjunction with medication can be very powerful.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I am not discounting medication at all. The two often go hand in hand.
But not everything is medication. But if you can use it with other tools, to your point, it can really help you.
And that's how I often describe it to people. Medication is the start point. It's what's going to get you back to that balance. Now you still have to do the work to keep that balance. And so mindfulness becomes one tool in that, as a way to say, okay, I'm doing all right. Let me keep it that way. And that's why we suggest that you practice mindfulness every day. It's not something you just say for when you're feeling stressed, because what we find is if you attempt to say, okay, I'm going to do my deep breathing next time I'm stressed out, when you get to that stressed out point, it's very hard to make yourself do it. But if you do a little bit every day, it becomes a habit, like brushing your teeth. We don't think a lot about brushing our teeth. If we practice our mindfulness every day, then it becomes second nature for us just to slow our breath automatically, to touch something, to ground ourselves back to this present moment. And so that can make a huge difference when it comes to the tougher times.
Oh, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about if you want to incorporate, for our viewers, if I want to incorporate mindfulness in my daily practice, what would that look like?
I would suggest, again, it has to become something you do daily.
Okay. Same time?
I suggest, yes, structure a time into your day.
Okay.
Again, people often tell me I don't have time. There's not enough minutes in the day. You can find 5 minutes. It's my challenge to patients all the time. Find that 5 minutes. I suggest doing it kind of regularly at a set time as you're building the practice.
Okay.
And like I said, the best thing to do is, if you're doing it, start with breath. It's just about breath.
You can't do it with other things.
Oh.
So you have to take that dedicated 10 minutes, be in a quiet space, or can you do it while you're walking and doing other things?
There is such thing as mindful walking. It's a marvelous thing to do, because what you do is while you're walking, you're just kind of noticing what goes on. You're not, we're often going through the to-do list of things I got to do. And if you just set all those aside while you're walking and really notice, what sounds do I hear? What things do I see? When I do my mindfulness walking, I don't use headphones or anything. I notice so many people walk with headphones now.
Or cell phones.
Or cell phones. Try putting all that aside as you take your walk, and just see what you notice while you're walking.
Wow.
No judgment, no thought about it. Just notice while you're walking.
Absolutely.
Feel the sun on your back. Like I said, listen to the birds, or some cases the traffic as you're going by. But whatever, just be really mindful of what is going on around you is a way to do it.
Wow.
Some people like to just sit under a tree.
Yes.
Some people like to curl up in a warm blanket. Again, it's about finding the things that help nurture you and help you feel attentive in that moment and not distracted.
Right. By just appreciating those little things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That sometimes when we're so busy and our lives are so chaotic that we take for granted. That's really powerful. Mm-hmm. That is really powerful.
One of the things I often do is, I did it today, in fact, I parked far away. Mm-hmm. I parked in one of the garages over on the other side of the fountain. And just to have the time to walk through before I came here was a chance to transition from all that I'd been doing at work all morning to prepare myself for this. So just kind of let everything empty out for a few minutes, just on the walk from the parking garage to this building.
Right. I'm going to have to incorporate that. I like that.
It's just a nice way, like I said, just to let it be.
So if somebody wants to start mindfulness practice, are there some things you would recommend? Is there a book? Is there resources that you can connect them with? For them to learn a little bit more?
Yeah, there are some apps out there, because we all have an app for everything right now.
Yes.
So some of the ones we suggest are Calm, or Insight Timer, or one called Mood Tools.
Okay.
These are all apps that they have some guided
meditation. And you don't get any benefit from those apps.
There is another way, but those. You mean, do I get personally
I'm just saying
benefit?
you don't get any personal benefit from those apps at all.
But these are all free or low cost is what we look for a lot of times with our, because we don't want to give you something that's going to cost you $1 million. Yes. But they have some guided meditations. A lot of them have a mood tracker included in them. And so you can kind of check where you are. Maybe there is a time of day that's best for your mindfulness. Or there may be that we notice certain things. If there's a certain peak time, maybe we can prepare by doing some mindfulness ahead of time. And so all those can kind of help you track in a lot of different ways. One of the simplest things I tell people is to just Google 5-minute meditation. Yes. There are thousands of YouTube videos out there that are free if you have internet access. And again, you look for what works for you. Maybe it is listening to the waterfall as you do your calming. Maybe it is having a voice walking you through how to breathe calmly. Maybe it's just having some music that you wander with, and it's not all the dun dun dun, it's not. Some people prefer a little more energy bringing in there. So a lot of times we will also use pieces of music that are a little more energized while people do their mindfulness, because maybe I need to pick up as opposed to just settling down. So again, find what works for you. Experiment, play with it, try different things. Just explore a little bit and see what helps you find your calm in the middle of it all.
Very good. So Teresa, if somebody wanted to connect with our Mental Health and Recovery Center, could you tell them how to make contact? What's the contact information?
Absolutely. We are an acute care facility primarily, but we have just recently opened an emergency department, a mental health emergency department. If someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, then they can come to us. But certainly, first and foremost, if you're in mental health crisis and you feel like you might imminently cause harm to yourself or someone else, call 911.
Yes.
We can get police, firefighters to you very quickly, and they can get you safely to our emergency department. You can also call 988, which is the National Suicide Hotline.
Yes.
Very important. They are staffing that, so there's always a person answering on the other end when you call. And not only, while they may be located in another state, 988, they tap back into our emergency services here as well, so they can connect you to what you need here.
Okay.
But if you have more questions, like I said, at Riverside, we do have the acute stay hospital.
Yes.
We have opened an intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization programs where patients can come every day, but they go home at night.
Good.
And so it's kind of a in-between hospitalization and being in the community. In the very near future, we're going to open outpatient services where people can come for, just their weekly check-in with a therapist, practice their mindfulness or whatever skills they need to build. And so, like I said, we're here for you in times of crisis, but we can help you with the long-term recovery as well.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me. I have learned so much. I know our viewers have learned so much. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your team and your commitment to serving our community.
Oh, you're glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Healthy You. We're so glad you were able to join us today and learn more about this topic. If you would like to explore more, go to riversideonline.com.